Hi, my name is Sarcastic Raspberry, and today I'm going to be talking about a user called Pentagrin. Now, before I get into this, Pentagrin is a creator on YouTube as well as DeviantArt, and I love their work. And especially, more than anything, I love their OCs. And the reason for that is because I love OCs. I love hearing about them, reading about them, etc., because it's just nice to actually realize that, wow, a human being said, I want to create an entirely new personality for a fictional being, and I am going to create this entire personality and backstory and a whole new life for this one singular individual that will never actually exist, and I will treat them as my own. And that's beautiful. That's a beautiful thing that humans are able to do, and maybe animals. I don't know if my cat has some weird human OC, I don't know. But, it's a beautiful thing that humans are able to do, and I love being able to experience what is essentially a representation of this person's story. So, when I saw this OC, I was a little disappointed, only because, it's hard not to make that physical connection to CL that this character has. And, I'm not even going to get it, because I have seen Pentagrin's video on their OCs. So, I'm just going to get the points out of the way they are already covered. Orphaned, summoned a demon, is a child. Great. If you don't want to change those things about the backstory, that's fine, because, you can create a totally original OC with that premise. I'm just saying, the premise of the story has nothing to hold you back, nothing to hold you down. But one thing that you did try and say was that the character is nothing like CL in the personality. So let's check out Cornelius' personality. Cold, distant, introverted, apathetic, strong-willed, solemn, persistent, determined. Personally, if I had to describe CL Phantom Hive, this is exactly what I would choose to display that. There's just the physical callbacks to CL. I can see you obviously tried to avoid one of these, which is actually putting an eye patch on this character. And I don't really understand why you didn't put an eye patch on the character. I mean, the giant black circle over the eye is already there, so it isn't like that single strap going across the head is going to change much of that. I mean, the character's still going to look like CL, even if you don't put the strap there. So honestly, not doing it just makes your character look weird, because he's perpetually bleeding from his eye. So, other than that, we have the character's backstory, which I thought it was kind of funny watching your video, and you said that, people compare the backstory and people compare the character design, and that isn't all the character is, because his personality is way different, but his personality isn't different. It is CL's personality. I mean, I think that's best exemplified with this newer piece of art, where you literally have a petulant child asking for sweets and claiming that his butler is constantly trying to make a mockery of him. This draws a parallel between how CL and Sebastian act with each other and how their relationship goes. I can literally see this exact scenario happening with CL and Sebastian. If it was more like a caricature of their relationship, then, yeah, this could be a thing. I'm not going to hit really much a mad word in this video. I'm actually going to focus more on Malthus, because I love Malthus as a demon, and I actually know a lot of demonology on Malthus, thanks to Black Butler. But, as far as Mad Word goes, I respect the fact that he's a character that you've had for a long time, and honestly, the most original thing in the story is Mad Word in a lot of odd ways. It really is just his appearance that calls back to Grell, and anyone that can't see past that is really looking at just appearances. But I feel like when you claim that you don't want to change an appearance of a character because, you made most of the appearance up after, before you knew anything about this other series, I feel like that's a really weird way to look at it. I mean, okay, so we're gonna go off into my own stuff a bunch, because this is also gonna be me kicking myself. I had this series called The Zodiac Knights, and I was originally going to call it The Zodiac Knights, but I changed it to Zodiac Guard, because I found that there's a really popular anime/video game called Zodiac Knights. So that's the occurrence of me changing something, and people do that with titles all the time, because they don't want their title to be heard, and have someone go, oh, it's just like this thing then, right? I mean, you're not gonna call, like, your series that this whole thing is gonna be based off of, like, you're not gonna call it, White Servant or something like that. I don't, I don't really understand what the problem is. Like, changing a character's appearance that doesn't look too much like another character is something that's done all the time in character design processes. And I know that you've already gone through this process with Madward, but just go through it again. Coming up with more and more designs of characters is how you allow them to grow as characters. Changing your storyline is how you get the best storyline. Have you ever heard of measure twice, cut once? With characters, it's a bit more of a process, but the same thing still applies. Taking the character and taking them apart and putting them back together again and really analyzing what made this thing happen in a character that you made can really help distinguish your character from other characters and also make them more personable. Personally, I love Madward's backstory, and I love the origin that you have for him. Not only the vampire origin, the vampire myth that you chose, where the woman committed suicide and tying that into his backstory, and etc., etc., and also there's a lot of attributes of Madward that I think, personally, you put a lot of thought into. And I know that you agree with that. This is your baby. He's really the baby of the series to you, and it's easy to see that because of how much thought you put into him. And I know that I said I wasn't going to talk a lot about Madward, but this is honestly just building him up. Because I think the only thing holding him back as a character that a lot of people can like and having you show him off without any concern is just his appearances. And I respect the joke of wearing a riding coat, wearing an outfit that's similar to the time period, and also having him wear red as a callback to Passion is a really great idea. But, analyzing those things, taking them apart, giving them different outfits, and seeing what sticks could really help you flesh him out to the point where no one looks at him and goes, "Isn't that just Grell from Black Butler?" So the last one that I'm going to go over, and, the one that I'm going to focus on for a majority of this now is going to be Malthus. Because Malthus is a demon that I actually know a lot about. So, that's for later. So, Malthus. Alright, so we have a demon that, shares a name with the commonly headcanoned real name of Sebastian. And, okay. So, I'm not going to call you out for using Malthus. Because I get it. He's a really famous demon, actually, when it comes to looking up demons that people commonly summon to make deals with. And using the cute idea of actually making him a familiar instead of giving familiars, then that's brilliant, personally. Now, what I think is kind of weird are some of the physical similarities. Now, something was bothering me about this face paint when I first saw it, and I didn't register what it was until it hit me that it resembles Sebastian's face paint from the circus arc. I don't know if a lot of other people have actually hit on this, and I understand that Black Butler doesn't have, a label on black face paint, but it's just something that honestly doesn't seem very necessary to me. It looks like you put a lot of thought into the series and trying to make it cohesive to the time period by putting Madward even in clothes that resemble the time period that he's from. But at the same time, I feel like there's a lot of things that, just don't really call to the time period. You have a butler with long hair and piercings. And piercings are actually very nice for the time period, but a butler wouldn't have them. A butler is expected to be clean cut and a representation of the family. Another thing is the eyes. Now, originally I was very impressed with the fact that you actually did purple or pinkish eyes, which is something that I haven't really seen on demons before until I realized I have. And I feel like at this point you're just asking for someone to call you out on this. But I'll do you one better. So, in taking reference to Malthus's backstory, Malthus as a demon, not your character, Malthus as a demon is commonly noted to have bright blue eyes. And blue is also a character that covers pride, so he's dignified, bossy, perfectionist, that seems to call to mind prideful, intelligent, so you have cunning, right? So these are all things that are commonly associated with the color blue. So why not just make his main color blue? And then change Cornelius's color from blue, which is supposed to mean intelligent, granted. It is supposed to mean intelligent, and I get why you chose it for Cornelius. But also making both of them blue could call that there is some sort of harmony that's behind the actual writing. So, it's about tying things together thematically and making your colors work together to call your characters back to one another. So, I have this very rough picture, and I understand completely if you think this picture is an insult, but understand that it is not supposed to be. This is not an insult to you or your characters. This is just my reworkings showing that you can keep the same character but change up the design drastically. No one's going to look at this picture, and even if I had him in your nice Victorian suit, which I actually really like how you designed that, by the way. If I had him in your nice Victorian butler suit and put it on him, he wouldn't look like Sebastian. Right? I also gave him this coiffed haircut, which reminded me of a crow. It reminded me more of a crow when it was just the lines, because it looked like a wing covering over his head. So there's a lot of interesting things that I put into this design with your character in mind. And it's just an example of how a character can resemble something and a lot of things calling back to it, and at the same time give an entirely different impression. Also, looking at this guy, you'd think he's very clean-cut, knows what's going on, and he's very well put together, which long hair does not usually call to mind. I'm just saying. I can understand with your backstory that you as a person, that I've seen of you online in your online persona, why you might put long hair on a character over short hair. But, this is just for the character on his own. You could say that, this version of your character sucks, and I should never have drawn this, and it's disgusting. And that you very much like how your character looks, and that's absolutely fine. But the point is that rejecting change in your characters whatsoever just because they are your babies is not the way to look at things. If you are truly looking at them as your children, look at this as exposing them to new things in the hopes that they'll grow individually as their own people. Because as things are, I see a lot of yourself in these characters, and I see a lot of things that you base them off of inside of these characters, and not really the characters themselves. So, Pentagrin, I hope this helps. I hope that this hasn't offended you. But, gosh. I love your art. Love your characters. I want to see this turn into something that's really for you and about you. So, this has been Sarcastic Raspberry. Have a nice day.